You're paying your internet provider somewhere between $7 and $25 every single month to rent a router, not to use the internet. You're paying for that separately. This is a rental fee, just for the box sitting on your shelf that you haven't touched in 2 years, that your ISP shipped to you, owns outright, and updates remotely whenever they feel like it. And buried inside that box, in an admin panel that 95% of people never open, is a setting that was quietly adjusted, not by you, sometime in the last year or two. That adjustment is why your internet feels slower than it did when you first set it up. Flipping it back takes about 4 minutes. Don't close this yet. Because by the end, I'm also going to show you the rental math, and it's genuinely embarrassing. Your ISP calls that box a gateway. That's a polished word for a device they manufacture, you pay for monthly, and they retain full remote access to. Every ISP-provided router ships with a firmware update schedule they control entirely. What most people don't know, what your ISP has no incentive to put in a brochure, is that those firmware updates don't only add security patches, they also adjust performance parameters. Specifically, they adjust quality of service settings, DNS routing priorities, and in some models, they quietly cap the maximum channel bandwidth the router is allowed to use. This is not a conspiracy theory. ISP firmware throttling is documented in network engineering forums, confirmed by independent speed tests across thousands of routers, and discussed openly in every corner of the internet except the corner where your ISP talks to you directly. The mechanism is straightforward once you see it. Your router is making roughly 400 routing decisions per second. Every device in your house, every packet of data, every Netflix stream and video call and browser tab running simultaneously. To manage all of that, the router uses something called a DNS server. DNS stands for Domain Name System, and it works like a phone book. You type a website name, the DNS server looks up the actual numerical address and sends you there. Your ISP assigns you their own DNS server by default. Their server is not the fastest one available. It's the one that routes your traffic through their infrastructure first, letting them monitor it, throttle specific traffic types, and deprioritize your connection when their network is congested, which it almost always is between 7 and 10 p.m. You didn't choose that DNS server. They assigned it silently the day they shipped you the box. Now the rental math, because I said it would be uncomfortable. Spectrum charges $7 a month just for the router portion of their gateway. Cox charges $13. Xfinity charges $15. And if you have their XFI complete package, it's $25 a month. Over 5 years at $15 a month, that's $900. For a piece of hardware you can buy outright at Best Buy right now for $120 to $170. A good standalone router runs another $80 to $150. You could buy both, own both outright, and break even inside 18 months. After that, you're just keeping money you were previously handing over on autopilot every single month. A car loan, at least, comes with a car at the end of it. And while you've been paying, they've kept that router on their firmware schedule, making decisions about your connection speed you didn't know were being made. So, that setting I mentioned at the start. Open a browser on any device connected to your home network, type 192.168.1.1 into the address bar, and hit enter. If that doesn't load a login page, try 192.168.0.1. One of the two works for almost every router on the market. You'll see a login prompt. The default username is almost always admin. The default password is either admin password or printed on a sticker on the bottom of your router. Log in. You're now in the admin panel your ISP has never once mentioned to you. Navigate to the section labeled Advanced WAN Settings or Internet Settings Control. The exact label varies by manufacturer, but it's always one of those three. Look for a field called DNS Server or Primary DNS. Right now it shows a string of numbers your ISP assigned. Delete it. Replace it with 1.1.1.1. Cloudflare's public DNS server, independently benchmarked as the fastest available. Set the secondary DNS to 8.8.8.8, Google's public server, as the fallback. Save. The router will restart. That single change reroutes your DNS lookups away from your ISPs. Congested infrastructure onto servers that are faster, don't throttle by traffic type, and don't log your browsing habits the way ISP servers quietly do. Most people notice the difference immediately on page load times. Streaming stabilizes. Video calls stop dropping. Now the second thing, and this one catches people off guard. Still in the admin panel, find wireless settings or Wi-Fi settings. Look for a field called Channel or Wi-Fi channel. It's probably set to Auto. Auto sounds like the smart option. It isn't. Because auto means your router picked a channel when you first set it up and never moved, even as every neighbor within range bought a new router and landed on the same frequency. You're sharing a lane on a highway with 12 other cars and your router is too polite to merge. On the 2.4 gigahertz band, the only non-overlapping channels are 1, 6, and 11. Pick whichever one you're not already on. On the 5 gigahertz band, channels 36, 40, 44, and 48 are consistently the least congested in residential areas. Set it manually, save, give the router 60 seconds to reboot. Then run a speed test at fast.com. Netflix runs it, and it measures actual streaming performance, rather than the inflated numbers your ISP's own speed test tends to return. Most people see a 15% to 40% improvement on a congested network. On a router that's been sitting on factory defaults for 2 years, sometimes more than that. One thing to be straight about before you go do this: these steps work on the vast majority of ISP-provided routers, but not every admin panel looks identical. Xfinity, Spectrum, Cox, AT&T, each has a slightly different layout. If your router uses a smartphone app instead of a browser panel, the DNS and channel settings are still in there, usually under advanced. If you can't locate them, flip your router over, the model number is on that sticker, and search that number plus DNS settings. You'll have the exact path in under 2 minutes. None of this voids a warranty or violates any terms of service. You're adjusting settings on a device installed in your home. That's allowed. One last thing, and this is the part most people don't know. Most ISPs in the US are legally required to accept your own router if you choose to bring one. They don't announce this. Choosing that option typically requires a phone call where a representative will spend a portion of the conversation explaining why their gateway is actually the better choice. It isn't. A TP-Link, Asus, or Netgear router, purchased once for $80 to $150, with no monthly fee, no ISP firmware updates you didn't authorize, and no remote access you didn't grant, outperforms the rented unit in nearly every independent benchmark. 12 months after you buy it, you've broken even. 24 months in, you've saved hundreds of dollars. The DNS they assigned you, the channel your router locked onto in 2022 and never left, the firmware update that quietly capped your performance parameters without a single notification. None of it required your consent. None of it was explained. And the monthly charge kept hitting your account regardless. 4 minutes in an admin panel. That's the gap between what you're paying for and what your connection is actually doing right now. Now I'm genuinely curious, did you already know any of this was going on? And if you're going to go make the change, drop a comment and let me know how much of a difference it made. I'd also love to know what topics you want me to dig into next. I read as many comments as I can, so don't be shy.